Welcome to the Referrals Podcast, the show designed to help everyone from the solopreneur to the Fortune 500 company win the referral game. If you want to build a company with an army of ambassadors and raving fans who speak highly of you and refer you willingly, you are in the right place. And now, here is your host, Michael J. Maher.
Welcome to another episode of Referrals Podcast. And that's right, this is another amazing episode. I cannot believe the feedback that I got from part one of the Michael J. Maher Hall of Fame of books that I've read throughout my life, over 2,500 books read, and you guys really responded to the first set. And now I'm going to go into the second set, or the part two of my book Hall of Fame, most recommended books that made the biggest impact on me, and the books that are truly the best of the best. A couple of quick shout outs from a couple of best-selling authors. Larry Kendall, author of Ninja Selling, says, 7L is the clearest, most concise book I've ever read on what it takes to be a great salesperson. It is obvious why Michael J. Maher is one of the greatest salespeople in the world. 7L will become a classic, and I plan to use it in all of our training. Larry Kendall, thank you so much. Very high praise for 7L. Been an amazing advocate of mine over the years. We're both from Kansas, and he went to Kansas State. I went to KU, but that's a whole nother story. But just an amazing man, a legacy, and also author of one of the best books I've ever read in real estate, Ninja Selling. And the other shout out I'm going to give is from another best-selling author from the real estate world, and that is Gary Keller, co-founder and chairman of the board of Keller Williams Realty, and also the New York Times best-selling author of The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, and of course, the one thing which I've already put into the Hall of Fame. Gary said, master the generosity game, and you can build a powerful referral-based business. The good news is that anyone can do it. Put the wisdom of Michael J. Maher into practice, and you can succeed at a higher level. And I mentioned those two authors, and I start with those two authors because I've read all the real estate books. Literally, I don't think there's a real estate book that's been produced in the last 30, 40, maybe 50 years that I haven't read. From Tommy Hopkins, who wrote the Bible, The Art of Selling Real Estate. And that was basically the Bible early on. And then Gary came out with MREA, and you have to say that's probably the greatest real estate book ever written. And I would also put Larry Kendall's Ninja Selling in that category as well. Tons of great real estate books out there that have been written by realtors, written by people in real estate, and just honored to be included in that list, and just honored to be mentioned by some of these really, really powerful authors and speakers and presenters and leaders. And so just wanted to kind of kick it off with the two real estate books, the three, if you want to put 7L in there, you've got 7L, you've got Ninja Selling, you've got MREA that made a big impact. I mean, Shift, that is also by Gary Keller and Gary and Jay Papasan. Hold, also a great book on investing by Steve Shader and Gary Keller and a few others. And just a lot of just really, really good real estate books out there. My background's in real estate, so it would make sense that I would read all of those, implement some things from them, and just really enjoyed it. Though I will tell you that the real estate world has really been slow to get into the relationship game and the referral game, and was always more about prospecting and trying to convert cold relationships into real estate relationships. And so it's great to see the transition from the ego era to the generosity generation in the real estate world and with the real estate books. Now, I want to jump to general books because I would say 99% of my knowledge and what went into my business and went into my system was it came from outside the real estate world. I read all the books on marketing, all the books on relationship marketing, all the books on event marketing, all the books on leadership, and you're going to hear, self-help, everything else. And so, you know, like I said, over 2,500 books read. And there's some books that I have to say are in there. And I want to put these in like, this is the Hall of Fame. It's not the Hall of like good or the Hall of really good or even the Hall of great. I truly believe the books I'm picking are the Hall of Fame, the best of all time. I do want to mention some honorable mention books that did not make the Hall of Fame, but are very much worthy of you looking into. And I'll do them very quickly. You can check them out, but I'll say one thing about them and keep going. This book is near and dear my heart. One of my mentors, Zig Ziglar, this is the last book he read. And this book is literally like reading a highlight film of the best lessons that Zig Ziglar ever produced. If you have never heard the name Zig Ziglar, you have missed out. I'm sorry about that if you haven't, because one of the greatest thinkers of all time, him and Jim Rohn essentially just owned the 70s, 80s, early 90s. When it comes to motivational speaking and the psychology of sales. So very, very powerful book. The other thing is, like, you guys know that Zig is one of my mentors. This book, he also had me endorse. It's also signed, right? Very, very cool. But just literally not only had me endorse, but it's literally the very first endorsement in the book. Here's what I say. Buy Born to Win before your competition does. Imagine sitting at the feet of one of the greatest teachers of all time. Born to Win gives you the opportunity. Success defined from A to Ziegler. Born to win, read to win. Michael J. Maher, author of 7L. So, I mean, imagine your mentor asking you to endorse his book. Life changing, heart changing, amazing, amazing book. Uh, Honorable mention, The Power of Who by Bob Bodine. Just this really talks about the how the who is the more important. We talk about the what and the how and the why and all these different things. And this talks about, hey, listen, you already know everyone you need to know. That's the subtitle. And that's the truth. You already know everyone you need to know, which means you know a person who knows a person who you should know. And it's really, really powerful in kind of going from this, there's more people I don't know than I do know. And so I should go after the people I don't know. Like that's the marketing and prospecting logic. But this really turns that on its head and tells you, hey, listen, focus on the ones you know, build relationships with them, and have them introduce you to the people you know. And that is literally a centerpiece of the referral mastery system and everything I teach to this day. I mean, The Traveler's Gift by another friend of mine, Andy Andrews. Andy Andrews, like, is the traveler. Andy Andrews is the gift. So kind of like I was talking about with Bob Burke, Andy Andrews literally personifies, the traveler's gift, and just an amazing person. Wrote an amazing book, The Traveler's Gift. If you haven't read it yet, make sure you do. Paulo Coelho wrote The Alchemist. This is a fantastic book, very philosophical, very deep. Once again, written in the form of a story like The Traveler's Gift. You're kind of getting maybe a pattern here of books that I like. They're not all stories, but they're usually pretty powerful parables. And I love getting that. I love seeing the differences that it's making versus just being told. I don't like being told what to do. I'm not sure if you like being told what to do, but some of these books, I feel like sometimes they're yelling at me. So we'll keep going. Sticky Church. You guys have heard me reference to this book. I mean, look at all the notes, like tons of notes in this book. The big thing I got from Sticky Church, this is written by a past pastor named Larry Osborne built a mega church, but he built the mega church with small groups. And the big philosophy behind Sticky Church was segmenting the congregation into smaller groups and giving them what they wanted, essentially from a church or from life. And for those of you that have implemented the referral mastery system and the 7L system, you understand like all the time, I'm talking about segmenting your database and giving that group, that subset of your sphere, what they want, right? Some of them are happy hour drinkers and would love a happy hour, right? Or some of them are like the more sit down dinner types. Some of them are rally around a cause types. Some of them are wine and cheese types. And it's like you really need to, have things and have events and really segment your database and don't just look at it. I mean, so many people, it's mass, it's bulk, it's blast, it's all these things. And listen, that era is over. Like the era of mass and blast is over. Customization and personalization is in. It is everything. So the more customization and personalization, which means customization means make it, perfect for that person. Personalization is looking at, those people as people and making it interesting and more apt or appropriate for that person. And guess what? Segmenting your database, segmenting your clientele allows you to do that. And it also it's more efficient. It's actually more efficient. It actually takes less time to do that, and it's far more effective than just blasting out to 5,000 people, which gets absolutely no response. Trying to be everything to everyone ends up you with no one, right? So you really want to hone in and focus. Another one is mastery. This is literally the license plate on my car. My word for life is mastery. The best book I've seen out there is George Leonard's book, Mastery, The Keys to Success and Long-Term Fulfillment. Very short, very quick read, reads like a story a little bit, but it is a nonfiction book. Cybernetics, very powerful book on how we think, how we should think. And this is maybe a book that's a little bit off the beaten path, but it's by Maxwell Maltz. You've got to check it out. Very, very good book. And here's the thing. If somebody asked me between Think and Grow Rich or Psycho-Cybernetics, which of those that you should read, I would suggest this book every single time. Think and Grow Rich, great book, very famous. It's a classic. Psycho-Cybernetics takes it to the next level, really speaks to you about, in my opinion, the secret to success, right? All right. So at Referral Mastery Summit, I recommended this book highly. I believe in 3 assessments when it comes to kind of knowing yourself and also getting to know other people better. The one assessment is DISC. I'm a really big believer in the DISC, especially Michael Abelson's version of DISC and how he takes the test and how he does the assessment. We do it on all of our employees, all of our independent contractors, anybody that works with us, we have them run through and do an Abelson DISC, DISC. And that's number 1, right? Number 2 is the Strengths Finder, right? So Strengths Finder will actually find your strengths. Like, what are you as a person? What should you focus on? And it was interesting to me that one of my strengths is being a maximizer or an optimizer. And what that means is that I am not necessarily great at creating something, but I'm phenomenal at taking something that's created and making it best of class. Well, we've really implemented that really well within my team the last 5 to 10 years, where we kind of finally figured it out, where somebody else would get the event mastery book started, like they would, and you would say, okay, that looks like a 3rd grader did it, right? We would have some outsourced person do it, but they got it started. And then I would put 36 hours into it to make it like best of class. And our event mastery playbook, in my opinion, is best of class. And I think our 30 mornings playbook is best of class for morning rituals. I think our Sweet Dreams book is best of class for nightly rituals. And there are not too many nightly ritual classes out there. But Strength Finder is very, very powerful. You have to buy the book to get a code to take the assessment online. I highly recommend it. It's by Tom Rath. Very, very powerful book. Over, millions of copies sold. Very cool. Another honorable mention, Blue Ocean Strategy. This is just a mind bender for those of us in the marketing world. Is how do you invent the blue ocean? And what's the opposite of that? The opposite of the blue ocean is the red ocean. The red ocean is where all the sharks are, where all the competition is. So they're biting at each other and they're chomping like there are a ton of real estate coaches, right? There's a ton of coaches, period. And so how do you stand out? Where is the blue ocean? And one of the things that we discovered were these live, online, dynamic, really powerful classes, like masterclass meets like I don't know, like university on steroids, right? It's like masterclass meets real estate meets referrals. So the Blue Ocean Strategy, very powerful book, very good book to read. It is a little technical. It is a little data driven as far as how they talk, but the stories about Southwest Airlines, and by the way, Southwest Airlines just started charging for luggage and baggage. We're going to see what effect that has, because one of the things that they talk about is one of the strengths of the company was the free bags, right? Fly back, bags fly free, right? So Blue Ocean Strategy, really good. Change or Die is the next one. This is by Alan Deutschman. There we go. This is a really, really powerful book. Change or Die is essentially doctors went to people who were essentially at the point in their lives where they had to make a choice. You need to either change your habits or you're going to die. And like you think about that, and you would think that, okay, well, everybody who was positioned to do that made the change. They decided to make the change. Well, less than 20% of the people who came to a decision of change or die actually changed. Well, a lot of people, they would study the sick, right? They would study, all right, the 80%, like, why didn't they change? This book is really powerful because they studied the people who made the change. And it's like, what were the common ingredients that made the change? And this is actually incorporated into our master classes. The law of association, the act as if, the different strategies that you'll read about in this book, we have implemented them at Referco in a very big way. This was a very impactful book. But listen, it's really, really great, but it's not in the Hall of Fame. It's a phenomenal book. All right. This one was really hard to keep out of the Hall of Fame. And I'm going to talk about it, To Sell as Human by Daniel Pink. This is, I mean, look, this is, some people call the Referco way the human approach to sales, right? And the human approach to sales is we really respect the other person. We let the other person make decisions. It's not about dominating the other person. It's not about making the other person feel awkward. In fact, it's just the opposite. It's about making that other person feel awesome and making them feel great about the decision they made and helping them make a great decision, even if the decision is not us, right? Well, Daniel Pink comes from a psychology and a doctor's background and the research part of it. And he's got tons of great research in this. And the only reason I wouldn't recommend To Sell as Human is because I believe there's another author and another book that actually take what To Sell as Human about, and honestly, The Greatest Salesman in the World and several other lessons, and they put it into a newer, more powerful book that is actually in my Hall of Fame that I'll share with you in a second. All right. So we're almost through with the honorable mentions. We've got 2 left. The next one is the 4 agreements. Now, the 4 agreements, I'm not going to tell you the 4 agreements, but these are essentially your 4 agreements with yourself. And so this is a big, big, giant self-help book, but this is a great book if you're looking for a book to read with your team or with your company or with a small group or a book club. Like it's a very fast read. Notice it's pretty thin, right? It's by Don Miguel Ruiz, and it is one of those books that it's a really good level setting book. You know, our values are love, generosity, and appreciation. Well, and we also believe that three things, right? Number one, be on time. Number two, do what you said you were going to do. Number three, finish what you start, right? Well, Don Miguel Ruiz definitely like dives deeper on the four agreements that you really should make with yourself that makes you and listen to me here. And and some of you are like, oh, just get to the Hall of Fame. But there's lessons in all these books. Like, I mean, you have no idea. I just looked through 2,500 books to figure, I mean, and how many did I have? I mean, I love all the books. They're literally like 2,500 children. And but the power of this book is that one of the most powerful compliments that you can ever get is I can count on you. Can people count on you? Do people count on you? I mean, even above your children or above your elderly parents, can the people outside your family count? Now, the first part is can your family count on you, right? And even inside of that would be can you count? Can you count on yourself, right? Do you have the confidence that you're going to pull through? But then it's even more is do people outside your family, the people that do they know that they can count on you for almost anything? And this book will show you the way. This book, the four agreements that you make with yourself, the four agreements that you make with how you're going to appear and how you're going to be as a person. Very powerful book. And then the last one in the honorable mentions is, I would guess none of you have read this book. And this is The Dream Manager by Matthew Kelly. An interesting side story is Matthew Kelly actually contacted me about publishing 7L. He was the very first publisher who talked to me about publishing 7L. And we had a great conversation about it and so on and so forth. And what opened the conversation is how much I enjoyed his book, The Dream Manager. And The Dream Manager is essentially how it's a story. Once again, there's that theme, but it's the story about a manager who had to turn around an organization. And so the former manager was very much a micromanager and a tell people what to do manager. Well, the dream manager met individually with all of the employees and found out like what their dreams were. Like literally found out, why are you working? When you earn the money from here, what do you do with it? And what do you want to do? And what's the future? And it's a great story, very much worth the read, very quick read, right? I mean, it's probably 80, 90 pages, right? Yep, 89 pages. So it's one of those where, quick story on the Dream Manager. So I took over an office in Atlanta when I moved here, and the office had lost many agents before I came in. And like the first thing I needed to do, or I felt like I needed to do, was stop the bleeding. So I literally met one-to-one with 136 agents in the first 30 days. I literally had one-to-one scheduled every day, back to back, with every agent in the office except for one, and her name was Robin, and Robin left midway through those 30 days. I never even got a chance to save her. I never got a chance to have her stay at the office, right? So, but what it essentially was is it was the dream manager personified or exemplified in this office environment. We kept all those agents, and we ended up in 3 months doing fantastic. We added 20 some agents in the next, so we went from a negative 36 to plus 24, and we did it with essentially this philosophy is recruit the people you have first, and then have them recruit for you and get them bragging about your office and get them, and how do you do that is you become the dream manager helping those people fulfill their dreams, and people have different whys and different want tos, and very powerful lesson. So those are the honorable mentions. Those are the books that didn't quite make it to the top of the list. And now I want to just really give you the books that I truly believe you should read. And I know you're getting inundated with you've got let them on your thing on your you've got MRA on your book. You probably have 12 books on your end table in your bedroom, and I get it. And that's why I want to do the Hall of Fame, is like I can give you a year's worth of books that you can read, and you are literally, in my opinion, reading the best books in their class in certain different type topics, right? So I'm going to get right to it. All right. These are Hall of Fame books. The first one will surprise you. I would guess none of you have read this book. I may have referred to it once or twice, but this book is called The Ultimate Question by Fred Reichheld. Now, Fred wrote about the ultimate question, and I mean, think about that. Like the ultimate question for your book, or I'm sorry, for your business. Now, what is the ultimate question for your business? What is the ultimate question? So if you think about, all right, what's the ultimate question for your business? It's like, all right, what's the purpose of your business? Now, you may have heard me say this before. The purpose of your business is to be referable. That's it. If your business isn't referable, you're doing something wrong. If your product isn't referable and people aren't talking about it, you're doing something wrong. You might be like, well, you might be really proud of your sales, but those sales will wear off, right? Or you're going to have to spend more in advertising to get the same amount of sales over time if that product is not talk about worthy, if it's not, referable. And so that even goes to the personal level, is what is your purpose in life? Like, what is your purpose in life? What is your purpose? Do you want to make a difference? It's like your purpose in life is to be, as a person, referable. Referable. If you as a person are not referable, if they're not suggesting you for what you do, then you're doing something wrong. You're doing something wrong. And it's either character, competence, or communication. And guess what? We can help you with that if it's any of those three, and we probably help you with all three. But the bottom line is, all right, now imagine me. I have an MBA in marketing. I have an MBA in communications. I have read all these books. I've studied all these different business philosophies and these different business styles. And I could have started a call center. I could have done a million different things, right? And this book proved to me that my philosophy was going to be really successful. And I am a real fan of taking complex questions or complex scenarios and nailing it down to like one question. This book creates what's called the NPS, the Net Promoter Score. Now, the Net Promoter Score is based on one question. I'm going to give you that question. And if you're in event mastery, you've heard me say this question over and over again. And the question is that on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 less likely and 10 most likely, how likely are you to recommend my company to a friend or colleague? Right? So I'll say it again. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 less likely, 10 most likely, how likely are you to recommend my company or your company, my company, to a friend or colleague? Please notice the ultimate question for your business is that are you recommendable? Are you referable? And this question has an immense amount of science behind it. And we have taken this question to the nth degree. Like we have taken it we have, just so you know, the ultimate question, there's also a book called The Ultimate Question 2.0, and then there's a book called Beyond the Ultimate Question. There's 3 books, complete books behind, with the research about that one question and what it says about different companies. So, the ultimate question for your business is are they likely to recommend it to a friend or colleague? And just power. And then, they're going to choose between 1 and 10. And of course you hope it to be a 10. Well, once you know their score, you can do a lot with that, right? So very, very powerful. The ultimate question, it's worth the read. It's literally an $8 book. You can get it like in a heartbeat, and you can read, or you could take Event Mastery and I'll just teach you what we're doing with it and go from there. I don't want to make a sales pitch, but we have taken Fred's work and a lot of the people's work around NPS and incorporated it very deeply into the systems of the Referral Mastery System. All right. So in the Hall of Fame, the next book in the Hall of Fame is by Joseph Pine and James Gilmore. Pine and Gilmore wrote The Experience Economy. This is a phenomenal book. Once again, maybe surprises you, but and this is a high level read. This is a very powerful read about where we already are as a consumer, right? Consumers don't necessarily want convenience or price or product. They really want an experience. And it's like, what is the experience you are delivering? And the impact that this book had on me was I wanted to make our buyer process an experience. So I created an experience timeline called the Client Experience Timeline. And then I wanted to make our seller and our listing process an experience. So I created the smooth selling system that literally blew away what people were doing when it came to selling homes. We literally had every one of our homes smelled the same, like smelled throughout the home. It smelled fresh. It smelled, very good without being overbearing. And every single one of our listings sounded the same. We had a certain music that was playing throughout the house, and it wasn't just music. It was music that the research had shown helped sales, and the study had actually been done in new homes. So it was very specific music, and the homes looked immaculate, and they were staged to the hilt, and they had a warranty on them, and they were pre-inspected, and they had a pre-appraisal. And it made the entire experience an absolute no-brainer to someone who was looking to buy the home. Well, guess what? We ended 104% on out of 100% would be selling full price. We were selling homes for over full price. We were selling them in a matter of hours instead of days. We had buyer agents who literally contacted me on a daily basis to find out when our next listing was coming on the market. So we changed. And then, I even applied this to the networking experience. If you've taken networking mastery, you understand that I orchestrate the ultimate first impression with the one-to-ones. And so this book obviously had a huge impact on me and my life and my business. It's a very good book. And honestly, Pine and Gilmore are fantastic researchers. They're fantastic writers. They're very accessible, and just been a huge impact on my life. All right. So I talked earlier about to sell as human, and I talked about like the human approach to sales and how we want to sell with respect to the other person, and realizing that other person is a person, and that we should be building our business not on preying on the weak. We should build our business on partnering with the strong. And I'm going to say that again. Like, is your business, is it built on preying on the weak? Wolf on Wall Street, boiler room, Glengarry Glen Ross, dominate, crush, kill, hammer. You get it, right? Target, smash, hammer. See what I'm saying? Right? Is it that? Is it to prey on the weak, or is it partnering with the strong? And there is a book that truly, I believe, even took To Sell As Human by Daniel Pink to the next level. And I sometimes judge a book by the post-it notes that I put in the book. Now, what I'm about to show you is probably the most noted book in my entire life. And this includes The Greatest Salesman in the World and many of the other books I mentioned. But this book is by Professor Adam Grant. And look at this. If you can't see that, it is literally, I do post-it notes for different sections of the book that like I really want to refer to later, like tabs in a 3-ring binder. It's just putting them in the book. And there has to be 30 to 40 in this book. And it's give and take. And one of the most powerful lessons of give and take is Adam Grant did a study on the greatest salespeople. And he studied, were they takers, were they matchers, or were they givers? And so, he did the research on whether those type of people were really takers and really matchers. And matchers were like, hey, listen, you give a little and I'm going to get some too. And then the givers, right? So the best salespeople. Now, who do you think were the worst salespeople? Were they the takers, the matchers, or the givers? And I'm just going to cut it short for you. Is the givers were the worst salespeople. Like the givers at the very bottom were the worst, right? Then right above those, and what honestly Adam found a little surprising, was the takers were most of that bottom 2/3 of the success in sales. The takers, right? And now listen, forever salespeople have been takers. So, this is a fairly recent study, and it just goes to show that taking and dominating and forcing and that and that kind of thing is just gone, right? It's just people are not going to stand for it anymore, and the negative word of mouth is not worth pissing off 99 people to get the one sale. You know what I mean? All right. Then right above the takers, predictably, were the matchers, which were the top 1/3 of the salespeople. So matchers did really well, right? They gave a little, they got a little, but they were always keeping score, right? It's like, hey, listen, if you want me to give you any more, then you better give me some more. You scratch my back, I'll scratch your back, right? So the matchers did really well. But something that Adam discovered, like totally changed my world. And it actually, what it did is it just confirmed what I have been experiencing in life. And what Adam found is that the top 1 to 3% of all salespeople were also givers. So it was givers, matchers, takers, givers at the very bottom. Isn't that interesting? So Adam, being the curious, energetic researcher that he was like, what is the difference between the givers at the top and the givers at the bottom? And what he discovered is that the givers at the bottom, let's call them the lambs, right? The sacrificial lambs, the ones at the bottom were the ones who gave and gave and gave and gave and gave and gave. And all they did was give. Even when somebody tried to give back, they didn't know how to take care of the opportunity. They didn't seize the opportunity, and they didn't receive it, right? Now, at the top, let's call them the roaring lions instead of the sacrificial lambs. And some sacrificial lambs. They just give in for everything. They give and give and give in. They're always giving in, but they're never have, taking it in, right? Well, the roaring lions at the top were givers. Like, you couldn't outgive them, but they also were appreciative receivers. They had the eye for opportunity. So they would take the sale when somebody put a sale in front of them. They would also connect the dots to opportunities that led to more sales. And in many cases, these were the type of people who weren't doing one-to-one sales. They were doing like 1 to 100 sales. So kind of like, if you remember stories that I've told before about the buffalo hunting, the Indians used to, the cavemen, whoever, used to hunt buffalo, and they would try to bring it down with one person bringing one buffalo. Then they tried it with 10 people trying to bring down one buffalo. And then some really smart caveman or Indian or Indian or Native American or Eskimo, I don't know who it was, but they started chasing multiple buffalo over cliffs, and then they would kill 10 buffalo with one person. That is that top salesperson who was smart enough to look for the multiple type of opportunity. And please notice how networking mastery, event mastery, and like a lot of the things we teach is that top echelon element of the givers being also appreciative receivers. The way to look at it in summary, obviously this book made a big impact on me, is, you have a coin. Do I have, it's not a coin, but it is, I actually might have a coin in here. Okay. So anyway, so this isn't a coin. I don't know what it is, but it looks like a coin. So with a coin, you have heads and tails, right? And you think of things as two sides of the same coin, right? They have to go together. Like, you can't take the heads part of this coin away and not take the tails with it. They go together. It's like breathing. When you breathe, you inhale and you exhale. They work together. With your muscles, when I move my arm and flex like that, where I almost rip my jacket right off my arm from the size of my bicep, I'm just kidding. But when I make a muscle like that, my tricep has to relax. So it's contract and relax, right? And so I almost got a cramp doing that. That's crazy. I'm just kidding. Okay. But so they're two sides of the same coin. Well, being a generous giver is on one side of the coin. Well, on the other side of the coin, you also have to be an appreciative receiver, You've got to receive opportunities. When somebody wants to give you money, take it. When somebody wants to give you an opportunity, you've got to take it. I literally was teaching a class last week and got an opportunity for someone. Literally, they were doing Power Note Mastery. If you haven't taken Power Note Mastery, you might want to just go buy it and make it happen. Well, they got an opportunity, and they actually met with the person whose home had expired. They want to sell. They met with the seller, and then they came back to me and go, well, what do I do? It's like, well, did you talk to the person about selling their house? And they were like, oh, no, I was just meeting with them to learn more about the house. And it's like, you can't draw it up any better than somebody who wants to sell, who's talking to a realtor about selling a house. like that's an appointment. Like, take the sale, take the opportunity, seize the opportunity, like step up, right? All right. So you've got generous giver, you've got appreciative receiver, and that's what I love is if you got generosity and you've got appreciation on two sides of the same coin. And what's really interesting about a coin, if you're on YouTube, you can see this, is there's actually three sides to a coin. There's the one side, let's call it the generous giver. We have the other side, which is the appreciative receiver, generosity and appreciation. But there's also the edge. right? And I want you to imagine on this coin is on the edge, there's a series of hearts, right? And the edge of the coin is love, right? So notice that love is never ending, and love also is incorporated inside generosity, love in action, and it's also incorporated in appreciation. It's love in reaction. So that's the ultimate coin. And all of that essentially came from thoughts and research. I mean, you want to talk about research? He's got like 20 pages of research from studies and sociology and psychology in the back of this book. Just really, really powerful book. All right. So I told you earlier, there are like these assessment books that I believe that you should read and understand. I believe you should know your DISC and you should know other people of the DISC. I believe that you should take strengths finders and understand your strengths. And I think you should also have your team members do strengths finders and do that. Well, the other assessment or the other thing that I truly believe that you should understand, especially with a family level or a team level, is the 5 love languages. This is in the Hall of Fame. This is by Gary Chapman, the 5 love languages. There's been some other spin-off books that he has done, like the 5 love languages in the office or something like that. But this is really, really powerful. This is great to know about your spouse. It's really powerful to know about you. It was just amazing that for me, physical touch really came up so often, which I just found amazing. The 5 love languages are words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. And what you discover through reading the book is, how do you most like to be appreciated? Right? How do you like to be appreciated? Like when what is the best gesture by another person to show appreciation to you? Essentially, how does somebody win with you? Right? And they're either words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, or physical touch. Phenomenal book. And guess what? You should know your spouse's love languages, especially their top 2, right? So very powerful book in the Hall of Fame. And man, we're down to our final 3. Very cool. All right, this one, another one. I mean, I bet 3 out of the 4 so far you maybe haven't read, which is pretty cool. I didn't intend it to be that way, but these are really powerful books. They're what I call best of class in this game-changing, mind-changing, mind-altering type of format where you can really run with the concepts that are taught. And the next one is at the top, right? It's definitely, I mean, once again, a big post. You can see the Post-its I have bent pages, I have written notes. And this book is called Power versus Force by David Hawkins. It's actually Dr. Hawkins, right? Power versus Force. Now, this book could blow you away. In fact, some people might consider parts of this book supernatural, but you need to understand the difference between power versus force. You want to tap into your power. You want to tap into your superpower, right? And I'm not going to give it away. I'm not like some of the other books I've kind of told you, but this is worth you reading. Now, part of it, you're just going to go like, there's no freaking way. And yet the research shows it's true. And the research is solid. And it's been, tried and true and done over and over again. And now you may have heard, like, over the years, you've heard like this thing about vibration, right? High vibration people, and how you vibrate, and this this vibrancy. Do you have a vibrancy? And you've talked about meeting with high vibrant people, right? And people vibrate at a certain frequency, and certain feelings vibrate at a certain, the law of attraction talks a lot about vibrating at a certain frequency, and your energy level, especially your people level or opportunity attraction, that actually all comes from this book. He literally will tell you like what feelings and emotions will align with the highest levels of vibration. And it is it is a game changer. It's a mindset changer, and it is a centerpiece to my entire philosophical piece of referral mastery system. And the thing is you've been listening to Referrals podcast for a while. You understand that this program, the Referral Mastery System, is super deep, right? It's to the core love, generosity, and appreciation. But it's not just fluff and stuff about making people feel good. It's really about raising people's frequency. That's what we really do, is we tap in to these strategies that align with your love, generosity, and appreciation strengths that will put you into a higher state of vibration and a higher frequency of vibration so that you attract higher frequency opportunities. And listen, where I'm talking about vibrancy, vibration, and frequency, that stuff is just the language that we use to describe energy states. And we are at our core energy. Everything, by the way, at its core, everything is energy. You can ask Einstein, right? Everything is energy. Everything is energy. Everything is, your desk is energy. And we tend to be attracted to things that vibrate at a similar frequency as what we're at. And so to attract better opportunities, better people, better environments, we have to raise our frequency. And you can do that, right? You can do that. You can do that by affirmations. You can do it with visualization. You can do it with reading great books. You can do it by implementing. You can do it by implementing things that you love. You can implement it by doing things that other people love. So very powerful book. Very it's also a challenging read, to be honest with you. It's just a really high level book, right? And I encourage you to dive into it, read it, and this is one that you may end up reading 2 or 3 times, and just really getting to understand and tap into like this whole thought of you can change your life by doing different things and having different things and being in a different way and a different mental state of the mind. And listen, this isn't rocket science. It really isn't. You know that you're more attractive when you're happy. You know you're more attractive when you smile. You know you're more attractive when you're positive. You know that. You know you're more attractive when you're optimistic and confident. So guess what? So we need to be those things more often and catch ourselves when we're not. And then we need a, strategy. Here we go. Once again, we need a strategy to tap into getting into those emotions, maybe when we're falling into doubt or hesitancy or uncertainty, right? So power versus force. This guy wrote a classic. Like mind-blowing classic. Dr. David Hawkins, thank you for your book, buddy. And I've never met him, talked to him, or otherwise. I should probably write him a note, tell him thank you. All right. That leaves us with the final 2 books in the Hall of Fame. And one of them you may have heard of, maybe both of them from me. But the next one is, now, I could have named quite a few of Seth Godin. I've read every book by Seth Godin. he is a little bit of the father of modern marketing in some ways. I don't know if he would call himself that, but I can comfortable. And like one book is The Purple Cow, right? And The Purple Cow is how do you stand out in a world of sameness, essentially. And, one way a cow could really stand out in a sea of black and white cows, Holstein cows, right, is by being by being purple and white, right? So, but the book that had the biggest impact on me is Tribes, We Need You to Lead Us by Seth Godin. This book really put on me that I was a leader. Now, I was not a leader. I just like people see me now and they can't, like, I can't even believe who I was 25 years ago. I was a freaking loser, right? I was, I was a jerk. I was a trash talker. I was insecure. I was a lot of some pretty embarrassing things. I was a drinker, heavy drinker. Um, I was no, I had some good traits too, right? I could play baseball and softball really would. I was a good athlete, but I don't know if I was necessarily a good person, right? Well, I just like when you become a realtor or you become a lender or you become a chiropractor or you become someone really important in society, right? A realtor and a lender, we have the biggest financial instrument or the biggest financial um, involvement of a person's life in our hands. And so when you become a professional realtor or a professional lender or a chiropractor or whatever it may be, you are a leader. You lead them through a transaction. You lead them through getting their mortgage and closing the transaction. You lead them through getting insurance if you're an insurance agent. You lead them through their financial plan if you're a financial planner. So you are a leader. And at the time I was very myopic and I didn't even think of myself as a leader. I would have thought of myself as a partner or literally a servant to the client. And like this book, Tribes, and also like all the reading I had done and I knew I was a leader. I am leading them through the transaction. I am leading people. And then I was too myopic with that thought is that I thought I just led them through the transaction. Well, through reading Tribes and through reading is I started a tribe of trust, which was my people in Kansas City, my people who I knew, and I needed to lead a tribe, and that's when I started doing events outside of the transactions. I was famous in Kansas City because I was the realtor who did housewarming parties for buyers who bought a house. So I would throw their housewarming party after closing, right? So it's like a lot of realtors, they're there from contract to close or showing to close, and then they're gone, right? I was the total opposite. I wanted to be in your life forever. And in fact, I didn't call people past clients. I called them forever clients. Like you're a forever client. You're going to be in my life forever. I'm going to make a difference in your life forever. So, but we did the housewarming parties. Well, then I had my parties and I would invite everybody that I met to my parties and I developed this tribe or from the church language, a congregation or a community of people who were there to help each other. And the networking was fantastic. We had people that met and married from our communities. We had people who forged business relationships. We had people who, I mean, maybe hundreds of thousands of transactions that happened within our tribe. And this book was just like there's a tribe waiting for you to form. Like, you know what I mean? And if you're a realtor or a lender, it's easy. That's your clientele to start with, and it's your sphere. And we don't differentiate between the sphere and the clients. It's like they're all of our sphere, and they're our tribe, and they're our tribe of trust. My tribe of trust is the generosity generation. We teach people how to build your tribe of trust with an army of ambassadors who speak highly of you and refer you willingly. And that language and that thought process came from Seth Godin's book, Tribes. Very, very powerful and very powerful. All right. The last book in the Hall of Fame, Michael J. Maher's Hall of Fame books. And this one is probably the most recommended book from me. Like when people ask about certain things, this is the book I refer to. I literally refer to this book maybe more than any other book, maybe the Bible. I just need to know the Bible better than I do, but I refer to it often. I do look up passages quite a bit on the internet and so on and so forth. But this is the book that I have incorporated into more of our stuff than any other, probably. And that is Dr. Robert Cialdini's book, Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion. Now, I have the new, updated, expanded version here. It's a pretty thick chew, right? If I were you, I would buy the original version. It's half this size, and yet it also gives you all you need. I mean, here's how powerful this book is, right? Is I have memorized the 7 principles of persuasion. I mean, think about that. I mean, think about how many things I have in my head. And I know it's consistency, right? Which is people want to be consistent. If they're someone who is sustainability mindset, then they're likely to make decisions that are based on sustainability and the environment. And knowing that, we can market to them, we can talk to them, we can build a relationship with them differently because of consistency. People tend to be really consistent, and consistency is something that is hugely powerful in sociology. Like we wanna be consistent because socially, if we are inconsistent, if we believe in one thing one day and something else the next, and this is a big problem in the United States right now with the division that's happening politically. And what's funny is a lot of these people don't know anything about being a Democrat or anything about being a Republican, and yet they're yelling and arguing and they hate the other part. And we're talking people that graduated high school together. They loved each other. They knew each other. Now they're on the opposite stances. But the thing is why? Like they don't even like the quotes they say and the posts they have from CNN or Fox is like literally a lie, and yet they post it like it's religion or fact, and it's just totally blunt. But what is it? It's like, well, I'm a Democrat, so I need to believe or post or be anti-Trump or whatever it is. And the truth is you don't have to be, right? You could like some of the things that Trump does. You could hate some of the things that Trump does. If you're Republican, you could like some of the things Trump does. You could hate some of the things that Trump does or how he is, right? And the fact is that it's more of a mixture, and it's not all black or all white. And but we want to be consistent. So once somebody posts something that's pro-Trump, they're pro-Trump, right? They're no matter what people think or what. And the truth is maybe they aren't pro-Trump. Maybe they're whatever, but they get into this defensive mode of, well, you're Trump. Well, then they get defensive. And the more defensive you are to your mindset, you become more that mindset, even though you weren't in the first place. The more you have to defend Trump, the more you become pro-Trump, and especially you become pro-Trump in the eyes of others. And then you realize you're pro-Trump. And it's like, well, you weren't like, I'm not pro Trump. Like I'm just like pro America, or I'm pro like what's good for the country, right? And it's just interesting. And it's the same thing. The other side, right, is I'm anti-Trump, and it's like somebody says, "Oh, I love you because you're anti-Trump." Oh, you said something really smart, even though you didn't say something smart. You just said something aligned with their mindset. And oh, and you're like, oh, I kind of liked being complimented, so I'll do more of that. And then you post more anti-Trump stuff, and you got more people that jump on, and then they're like, well, this guy's really smart because he's anti-Trump. And the fact is, you're not all that smart, because you really just posted one thing that you thought was funny, right? And it's just, it's like, here's the fact of the matter is, most people are politically ignorant. And the more you research, right, the more you actually research, the more ignorant you become when it comes to politics. That's the truth, right? Because there are no facts. There are no facts. It's all just opinion. You don't know the real answers, because the government has never released the real answers. So you don't know the real answers. You get your CNN answers, or MSNBC, or you get your Uncle Joe's answers, or you get Fox News, or you get, fact checked, right? Which is really funny, because who fact checks factcheck.org, right? I mean, who's checking them? And so, I mean, like the AI, and the fact is, AI can't even figure it out. So it's one of those where, consistency is a real problem in today's world. And we need to understand that when we're falling for this consistency, is like people try to pigeonhole you into a certain consistent arm that may be outside of who you really are. And you do need to fight that. You do need to make sure that, you're who you are, and you stay who you are, right? And so on and so forth. So that's just one, right? Consistency. The next one is commitment, right? Consistency and commitment kind of go together. Commitment is, if you commit to the first phase of something, then you're likely to commit to the entire process, right? So, like walking onto a car dealership. If you walk on a car dealership, the car salespeople know that you're likely to buy a car at that place, right? You're there to buy a car. And like the whole commitment thing is I know from the sales side, is if I can get someone just to respond to me, then they're probably going to end up working with me. I've just got to get them moving towards me. I just need them to take the first step towards me. And then I'm going to be all over that in a way that gets their commitment to be more and more with working with me, right? So commitment, consistency and commitment really go well together. And then contrast is the next one. And contrast is where you see specials all the time, where it's like, it's normally $4.97, today it's $1.97, right? So contrast, you see, like, why do you buy things off the clearance rack? You see an $87 ugly sweater, and you end up buying it for $15, but you never wear it. But you bought it because it said it was worth $87, right? So that's the principle of contrast is, and by the way, you can also use this in dealing with things with kind of the under promise, over deliver. Well, I think that when we're done, your fees will be around $1,000. When their fees come back and they're really around $700, that person is happier than if you told them that the fees are going to be $700, right? So, the principle of contrast is, I mean, the other thing too is, it's the under promise thing is, hey, listen, I'll call you back by Friday at noon. And then you call them back Thursday at 5 p.m., right? So the principle of contrast there is setting a timetable longer and then taking less time than it takes. And just so you know, if you said you were going to call them Thursday at 5 and then you called them Friday at noon, the effect would be the exact opposite. You would lose credibility. You would lose the happy effect, right? So contrast, we use that quite a bit in our business and in sales. And then I'll make the rest of these really quick, right? So you've got reciprocity. Reciprocity is the second part of generosity. I would say generosity is actually a principle of persuasion, and then reciprocity is the reaction to generosity. And reciprocity just says, give a gift, give things, and people will tend to like do what you want them to do. And the Hare Krishnas are a great example of this. That's why they got kicked out of airports, is because they would go up and give flowers to travelers in airports, and then they would ask for a donation. And those that took the flowers tended to donate to the cause, right? So anyway, it was very, very effective to the point where it was so effective that they had to take them out of the airports. So, so reciprocity, I'm a huge believer in the generosity, reciprocity, of course. I have a whole system on it, I have a whole keynote on it. And then you've got A is for authority. Authority is like when you see a policeman in uniform or a doctor who's wearing a smock. And that's why chiropractors wear the smock. That's why nurses wear a nurse's outfit, is the uniform. It makes us act differently towards the person. I know a police officer, friend of mine, who I watch baseball games with. Well, when he's not in his police outfit, he's just another dad. You know what I mean? We're sitting there and, he may even have a beer. I don't drink very much, so I wouldn't be drinking a beer, but whatever. I would drink a beer with him. It's not that big a deal. But like we're relaxed but when he's in his police uniform, he's a different dude, right? He's a different dude. And the way that I act towards him is different, right? If he told me to go get a beer for him, I'd go get a beer for him. And honestly, I'd probably go get a beer for him even when we were casual, but I'd probably go faster. And I would say yes faster if he was in uniform. You know what I mean? And here's the other thing. So this goes into the power of a uniform. I have a uniform. Every time you guys have seen me, if you're watching this on YouTube at Get Referrals, right? YouTube.com/Get Referrals, then you've seen that I wear a uniform every day. I wear a uniform. It gives me more credibility. It puts me in the mindset of what we're doing. And, a lot of the things where, that when we put people in authority positions, we tend to be more agreeable to what they ask us to do, which makes a lot of sense, right? And then you have which is, that's an easy one. If there is someone that is very likable, we're more in tune to say yes to make them like us, right? It's like, well, I like you, and we want them to like us. So we say yes, or we do what they're asking, so that there is this balance of liking between the two of us, right? And that's one of the things. Be likable, be lovable, be nice, be friendly, smile, and tap into your wit, tap into your charm, show up presentable. Your attire matters, all of that, right? And then you've got a couple of S's, right? So you've got S, which is scarcity. Scarcity is a psychology of persuasion. It's a principle of persuasion. And scarcity is powerful, like limited seating. If there's limited seating for a movie, we are more inclined to figure out a way to get our seat. When it's sold out, it's sold out. Limited seating, limited spacing, limited tickets available. Limited anything. Limited, we want to make sure we get in, right? So scarcity is really, really powerful. And, we use it as well because we do have limits on our Zoom accounts. And so, we aren't joking when we say get your seat, because in many cases with our bigger Zooms, we've not had room, and it happens. So it is one of those that and by the way, we do 52 referrals podcast shows, 52. We do one a week. So guess what? That's scarcity. If you want to be on our podcast, you've got to implement and do something to get referrals. We don't interview we don't interview Mel Robbins because she's got her book out, right? We don't do a lot of that, right? What we do is we interview real people, we hear their real stories, and we talk about real referrals. That's what we do. And we only have 52 spots. So we have a lot of people who vie for those spots. And of course, here I am using one of those spots for the Hall of Fame of Books, which, what a conundrum. All right. Then the last one is social proof. Another way to look at social proof is the herd mentality. Like, is we tend to follow the herd. When we are driving and we see 8 cars in front of us turn their blinker on and they're getting ready to go into the slow lane, we are like, okay, that's 8 people in a row with their blinker. We don't have any proof of what's going on up in front of us, but we tend to put our blinker on and move over into the lane, right? And also, over the years, following that has led us to a split road where construction's on one side, and it's helped us get over and go through the line faster. Well, there's also been times that maybe we didn't notice, but they're more rare, is we put our blinker got on, but what we come to find out is we're over in this lane and we really didn't need to be. It was really a volleyball team or a baseball team who just wanted to stay together, so they all got off into the right lane, and we could have just stayed in the fast lane and passed them or stayed in our own lane. So the herd mentality is social proof. Now, where you see this in the sales world is when you see like number of things sold, right? 1 billion hamburgers sold. Well, if they've sold 1 billion hamburgers, then I am pretty safe at buying the next hamburger, right? When you see it in sales at an event, you'll still see people lining up to buy the book or to buy the product. And that's social proof. You're like, well, I don't want to miss out on that. And guess what? It's really popular with a lot of people. So, maybe the smart thing here is to get in line and buy the product, right? I just gave you like an MBA on the psychology of persuasion. And I got it from Robert Cialdini and Kevin Hogan and some others, right? Some others in the influence world. I truly believe our system, Referral Master, it's about building influence. And I know I talk a lot about going from the ego era to the generosity generation. We're in the generosity generation, right? The ego era is 99% dead. The generosity generation's 99% the way that things are getting done today, right? Well, I also believe that we're tailing out of the informational age, right? And we're flowing into the influential age, the age of influence, right? The informational age is, it's all about data. And the fact of the matter is, nobody can freaking figure out how to do data. Well, now we've got AI, right, which is helping with the data. And in the informational age, which we're in, right, we came from the industrial age to the informational age. And the informational age, there's a couple things going on. Number one is that we're inundated with information. We are suffering from information overload. And you know what? We're not alone. Computers we don't even know how to use computers to siphon down the data to use it effectively, like how to freaking use this data to help people, or how to use this data to sell more products, right? Amazon's is really good. Netflix's use of data is really effective to get you to pick more movies. But the fact of the matter is there's only so many movies out there. So guess what? We would probably find them anyway without their suggestions. But here's the thing, right? The other part about information, people sometimes say that information is power, and knowledge of that information is power. And I'm going to tell you something is not, right? Let me tell you something. Information is not power. Knowledge is not power. Power is power. Power is power. You might want to write that down. Power is power. And when I say that, what I mean is influence is power. Influence is essentially people will do what you want them to do, right? That's influence. Influence is your ability to get people to move towards a common goal. Sometimes that's your common goal, But most of the time, and what we teach is towards a common goal that will help the common good, right? Common good for the common people. So it's going to help everyone, right? So what is for the common good? And I'm just telling you is we are in the influential age. We are in the age of influence. A study of influence would be good for you. And studying how to become, and you're like, I don't want to be more influential. It's like you're influential already. So you might as well step into it. If you're a realtor, you're a lender, if you're listening to this, you're an entrepreneur, salesperson, you're a realtor, lender, insurance agent, solar sales, roof sales, whatever it is, you are a person of influence, right? And you need to step into being more influential. You need to lead your tribe, right? As Seth Godin writes. So I'm just saying, those are the Hall of Fame books. When people ask me about certain topics, I literally gave you the books that I most recommend for each of those topics. And I hope, and I know this has been a little bit longer of a broadcast today, and I appreciate you hanging out with me the whole time. I hope it's been worth it for you. Please let me know in joingengen.com, joingengen.com. Let me know what you thought about today's version, and would love to know your Hall of Fame books. What are the books that are in your Hall of Fame and have made the biggest difference in your life? I'd love to know more about it. You can check us out at joingengen.com, or if you're interested in joining our academy, this is a fantastic month to do that. Really exciting things to come. Lots of new and powerful programs that we're launching to go with our already strong signature classes. referral-masteryacademy.com, referral-masteryacademy.com. It literally will be the best $99 you spend, I promise. Check it out at referral-masteryacademy.com. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Hall of Fame books that I prefer, books that are most preferred by me over the years. And I hope you enjoyed it. And guess what? We'll have a guest we're interviewing. I can't wait for you to see our next Referrals podcast. It's going to be one of the best ever. I already know it's already in the hopper, and you're going to love it. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and make sure you're downloading these on your phone, and you can get notified when the next Referrals podcast is ready. I hope you're ready. I appreciate you. I love you. We'll see you next time on Referrals Podcast.